Are you ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome to the Haverford News. Today's date, October 17th, 1775.
And I'm Brian. Tonight's top story. Patrick Henry makes an inspiring speech in which he declares his stance on independence in Richmond, Virginia.
Give me liberty or give me death, Brian. For all those who do not believe we have troubles with Great Britain, take a look at the Intolerable Acts, the Proclamation of 1763, and the Townshend Acts, which regulate our trade, tax our products, and deny us our rightful land.
Are you okay? In other news, John Dickinson, a Continental Congressman from Philadelphia, was supported by the Second Continental Congress in drafting the Olive Branch Petition, which we all know was created to make amends with King George III.
While Dickinson and most of the Continental Congress were trying to prevent war, John Adams and a few of his followers believed war was inevitable, making the Olive Branch Petition completely pointless. Adams then sent a letter to a friend expressing his dissatisfaction with the petition, but it was intercepted by British officials who sent it to the tyrant King George, who then rejected it.
Now we go live to our field reporter at the Battle of Concord.
Last evening on April 18, 1775, English troops were ferried across the Boston Harbor and attacked the towns of Lexington and Concord. Dr. Joseph Warren, a strong supporter of the colonial cause, learned of the communication between British Secretary of State William Legge and General of English troops in Massachusetts Thomas Gage. Legge reportedly told Gage that the colonial soldiers stockpiled arms in the towns of Lexington and Concord. Legge called for an attack on both towns and the capture of leaders John Hancock and Samuel Adams. Luckily, Warren and Messenger Paul Revere were able to warn Adams and Hancock. Alright, and now we're going to...
Oh God, go!
Captain, what did you have to say to your men?
Do not fire unless fired upon, but if they want war, let it begin here!
Those are some powerful words from Captain Parker.
Thanks, that was great. Well, now that you've seen it live, you decide who really committed the atrocities at the battle. Right now, we take an inside look and a debate to answer this question.
Hello, and welcome to the Lesson Report. I'm Evan Lesson. Our guests today are Major General Francis Smith of Britain.
Hello, Evan.
And Captain John Parker of Massachusetts.
Hey, Evan.
We will be having a point-counterpoint discussion about who committed what atrocities against whom at the battles of Lexington and Concord. Major General Smith, what atrocities do you claim the rebels committed against you?
Well, Evan, the rebels exercised this new type of warfare called hide, shoot, and run. And those of my men that were unfortunate enough to be killed were then scalped and had their ears cut off.
Captain Parker, can you defend yourself against any of the aforementioned atrocities?
Evan, their claims that we had scalped their men is a complete myth. What actually happened was on their way back to Boston, they had to go through the battlefield where they saw men who appeared to be scalped, but even though Native Americans or animals could have likely been the culprit. And for the new type of warfare, I don't find it an atrocity at all, but rather a major innovation.
Interesting, but what atrocities do you believe the British committed against you?
Evan, it is simple as this. The British shot at our unarmed innocent women and children. They ignored the wounded and killed them mercilessly. And they also pillaged and burned every house they came across.
Major General Smith, what are your thoughts on Captain Parker's claims?
Every house that we had burnt down had colonists in it firing upon us. What were we supposed to do? Just let them shoot us and not fight back? Those bloody colonists would have reacted the same way we did if they were in our position.
Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm Evan Lesson, and that's the Lesson Report.
Should Americans declare independence from Britain or not? To investigate further, we have a reporter live at the debate.
Mr. Wilson, Mr. Henry, thank you for joining us today. The first question of the day will be directed towards you, Mr. Wilson. Should the American colonies declare independence from Britain or not?
Thank you, Mr. Volpert. No, we should not declare independence from the Empire. First of all, the Empire is so vast, and we, the colonies, are so small, we would surely be crushed. Our Continental Army, if you want to call it that, more like farmers with pitchforks, if you ask me, cannot stand up to the sheer force of professional soldiers and a massive army. Without a European ally, we stand no chance against the almighty British. We are really just 13 colonies, all seeking monetary gains. We can't decide on one thing at a Continental Congress. How can we rely on each other in the face of sheer destruction?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. And you, sir, Mr. Henry, what is your opinion on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Volpert. Well, personally, I feel that we must declare independence from Britain immediately. I will no longer stand for these ridiculous taxes that are being levied upon us. If we declare independence now, we'll be respected by powerful nations such as Spain and France. These nations will then come to our aid against Britain because they see our devotion to independence and our inability to falter in a possible war.
And Mr. Wilson, do you have anything to say against that?
Yes, I do. We have no resources. We are a poor and isolated entity of a greater empire. It seems a little far-fetched now, doesn't it, that France would want to back us when they themselves were annihilated by the British not but 10 years ago. We must not declare independence from Britain.
Nonsense! We've had enough of this taxation without representation. We've had enough of this repression by the British. War would be a godsend, certainly not hopeless. We must stand for this no longer. Give me liberty or give me death.
Give me liberty or give me death.
Well, folks, you've heard it all here today. Hopefully we've helped you formulate your own opinions on the independence from Britain. Do you want to be taxed but safe, or fighting for freedom? Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on our next debate.
And now in other news...
Well, it's nothing they take pride in, most of the fellas I have known. If they ever done much riding, as at various times got thrown. It might happen when you're starting on a roundup some fine day and you feel a bit uncertain about some little wall-eyed bay because he swells to beat the nation when you're cinching up the slack.
Hello, I'm Peyton Cuddy, one of the editors of Pegasus, and I would like you to submit your art, photography, short fiction, and poetry to pegasus@haverford.org by October 27th so that we can publish it in our anthology.
Hi, I'm Grant Rieger from the Service Board, and this weekend we have the City Year Serve-a-thon on Saturday with the 9th graders from AIS. On Sunday, we have the Juvenile and Diabetes Walk. I encourage all of you to participate in these two events. Next weekend, we have the Special Olympics at Villanova. Everyone should feel free to stop by Mrs. Liu's office and sign up for a shift. That's all from the Service Board this week. Thanks.
I guess it doesn't work.
Well, there you have it. That's our first and last broadcast from 1775.
I'm Brian.
And I'm...
Brian.
Thanks.